when you think about mental health, what does that mean to you now versus when you first learned that this was even a thing?
Oh, let me take a deep breath on this one.
It's a question that'll make anyone take a moment to just think.
In general, mental health is one of those things that it's not like, hey, today I want to start working on mental health. It's more like, oh, I'm going through a whole lot.
An internal battle of how Black men see themselves.
I am unworthy.
I'm broken.
I'm scared.
I'm not good enough.
And how the world sees them.
I didn't realize what was happening to me over time. I felt like it would be better just to end it.
As athletes, you don't have time to process. You don't have time to deal with what you're feeling.
Life was really just building up on top of me, and it felt like you're slowly kind of like drowning.
Whether to turn to faith.
So I said, Pop, you can't talk about the Bible and not mention mental health.
Or fear.
I had to go against what I was taught.
Who do you turn to?
Did you talk about mental health growing up?
No, mental health was not a thing that we talked about in the house.
And how?
Black men especially, we don't really express how we feel in a way that shows our vulnerability.
But now, we're finding new ways to create space.
I am redefining Black mental health with new words.
I'm present.
I am worthy.
I understand who I am.
That I am enough.
I am enough now and always.
Thank you so much for joining us. Today wraps up the end of a very trying month for a lot of us. May 31st doesn't just mean we're on the brink of a new month. It also means the end of Mental Health Awareness Month. But we want to dig deeper and discuss how talking about mental health, well, it has been taboo in the Black community for generations, specifically for Black men. From the role of the Black church and faith to discussing Black masculinity. In the next 30 minutes, we're talking about all of it. And these guys, they are not holding back by being vulnerable and very transparent. They hope their stories will help all of us re-examine what it means to not only take care of our own mental health, but to check on those around us as well. And here's why. According to the Suicide Prevention Resource Center, the suicide death rate for Black men is 4 times that of Black women. And even more staggering, the rate at which Black youth are attempting to take their own lives. In 2019, reported suicide attempts by high schoolers sat at 12%, which peaked over the 9% national average. Through very personal stories and guidance from health experts, we want to answer one question. How could this happen? And not just that, we want to provide some solutions as well. The first conversation is with the man who's given the phrase, just heal, bro, a whole new meaning. It's become his life's work, creating space for Black men.
Of course, early on, we think about mental health, you think about, crazy people. And growing up in the Black community, when you heard someone having mental health issues, you thought about somebody having a mental health breakdown or a nervous breakdown is what they call it. And I grew up in the South where they call depression, you had the blues. Now I see mental health just really life in motion.
Describe a time for you when you knew you needed to seek some mental health, some therapy for any mental health issues.
Oh, gosh. So, let me take a deep breath on this one. 10 years ago, I attempted suicide the second time. And my godmother found me underneath the bed. And one of the misconceptions that people have about people who struggle with suicide and have suicidal thoughts or suicidal ideation, the clinical term is they think that they're wanting to end their life, but they're just wanting to end the pain.
What do you think is the most common misconception about mental health?
We look at people in high places and we look at people who have acquired stuff and we say they have everything. But on the back end of that, we never know what they're fighting with internally.
You talk about depression and many of the things that kind of led to you knowing that you needed to try to get some kind of help, talk to someone. How do you get a person to realize that?
For most people, it's acknowledging that they need help, and that's hard, and particularly for men and men of color, because there's this notion that you have to be strong. You know, when men take their lives, it's usually because there's a lack of hope and they don't see their way out. But I think there's a level of abandonment that we're experiencing as Black men. How do you expect somebody to want to live if they have not been embraced? So you don't feel, well, what is the purpose of being here? You know, do you even want me here? Demand outweighs the solution because there's not enough Black male therapists to connect with the Black boys. I just want Black men to know that their lives are valuable and that you don't have to end your life.
Now, in speaking with most of these guys, they've revealed many issues they face stem from unhealed childhood trauma. My next conversation is with Patrick Jefferson. Like so many men, Patrick experienced a situation when he was younger, making it hard to undo what's been taught. Here's his story.
Mental health was not a thing that we talked about in the house. And I want to say it was due to my parents, like they weren't like aware of the topics that could come of mental health, or like they just brushed it off of their shoulders and said, it'll be fine.
How do you think that impacted you?
I guess the dynamic came in of like, if I can't talk about it with my family, then I really can't talk about it with nobody. My dad he suffered from drug abuse. And it was kind of like the elephant in the room for the family. One day the DARE program came to our school. They were telling us about like if you or a loved one or someone you know is like impacted by drug abuse, like you can reach out to us, you can come and speak to us. I brought up the DARE program to my mom, and it was met with, why would you go and speak to like an outside source about this? It was basically, you're airing out family business that doesn't need to be aired out. It definitely let me bottle up a lot of things that came out to hurt me later in life.
What do you mean by that?
Summer after I graduated from college, I experienced like a trigger from my past childhood.
What was the situation?
It was behavior from my dad. It brought me back to that place of like where I was a child and kind of like how I felt hopeless and like stuck in a situation that I couldn't get out of. But before I got to like the end all be all goal of suicide, I had to like step back, calm myself down, and realize like everything I'd be leaving.
What do you hope you sharing your story will do for someone else?
You have so many Black men committing suicide and going through these struggles, and at a certain point you have to ask yourself, what am I going to do to help stop this?
What are we all going to do to help stop this? A perfect lead into our next guest, Bonnie Cook, the Executive Director for Mental Health America of Greater Dallas. Bonnie, welcome. When you hear stories just like Patrick's, a rallying cry for what a lot of men haven't said publicly, and you hear things like that, how bad is the mental health crisis in America?
The mental health crisis in America right now is probably the worst it's ever been. We are all struggling to find access to care. We're struggling to find that listening ear. We're struggling to make sure that we talk about mental health in the same way that we talk about physical health. And we've made some progress, but we still got a long way to go. Absolutely.
Childhood trauma, that was one area that Patrick focused on heavily throughout the story. It shows up in our adult years, and I even saw a CBS poll that says 67% of teens surveyed say they know at least one person struggling with mental health issues. What are our teens? They have so much access to different things. What are our teens dealing with right now?
Our teens are struggling. There was another recent study that at least 50% of teenagers are going to suffer a mental health and a mental illness within their lifetime. So probably about the age of 14 is when we start to see that teens are suffering. Teens are lonely. Teens struggle to find their place in the world. And they also think that they're the only ones that are going through this. And so they keep that all bottled up inside. And then when they try and get the resources they need, a lot of times it's not there. And the stigma that we have with mental illness is still such a huge stigma. And so kids think that they can figure it out on their own, that they're going to be able to come up with the solution, and if they ask for help, then they're weak.
Oh boy, you know what? I really want to focus on that last part that you just mentioned, especially if we have parents that are watching, and even teens. You know, a lot of them are out of school at this point that may be struggling to have those tough conversations. How can we start those conversations in our own homes?
Oh, that's a good thought. We have to start that conversation. We as adults are afraid that if we say something to our kids, that it's going to make things worse, or they won't listen to me because they haven't listened to me in the past. So if we turn around now and we as adults say, it's okay to talk about your mental health. Please tell me what I don't understand. Help me to live in your world and tell me what your struggles are.
Okay, Bonnie Cook, thank you so much. Executive Director for Mental Health America of Greater Dallas. We have so many resources that we'll, of course, share with you on our website, WFAA.com/Black Mental Health. Thank you so much, Bonnie.
Thank you.
As we continue our series, Enough Folks, one pastor is on a mission to let others know that faith and therapy are not mutually exclusive.
Calling certain mental disorders demonic, saying that you don't need therapy, you just need God. I think those are a direct reflection of how men and women have decided not to go and to just talk to pastors.
He is finding the balance between spirituality and going against the grain. And we want to hear from you, by the way. Can you relate to any of these stories? What are you doing to better your own mental health? Here are a few of your messages that we've received thus far. Don't forget to tag us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter using hashtag Black Mental Health.
We gon' be all right. Do you hear me? Do you feel me?
How have you been able to not only use your faith, but also merge that with the importance of therapy and things along those lines?
Go against the grain. I had to go against what I was taught. I had a difficult time as a child and had to go to therapy. And as I got older, being authentic in the pulpit is what was different for me versus the generation before me. They were superheroes, but suffered behind closed doors. Calling certain mental disorders demonic, saying that you don't need therapy, you just need God. I think those are a direct reflection of how men and women have decided not to go and to just talk to pastors. And there's nothing wrong with talking to pastors, but you need clinical help. And so the messaging across the pulpit has to change and to be more acceptive to going to therapy. So for me, I was able to merge those worlds, and then I went to school and minored in counseling. So I realized it was okay and that God is a counselor.
What was life like for you growing up? You said you had some difficulties as a child and ended up having to get some therapy. What was life like?
Anger issues, parents divorced, didn't understand it, felt abandoned, real strong church ground people. My parents were very, very educated, but I was just kind of the black sheep of the family. Every mistake that could be made, I made it. Once we hit rock bottom, I went to a counselor. I tried to commit suicide. I took about 20 Aleve pills. And in reality, the truth is I didn't want to die. I just wanted somebody to talk to me and somebody to tell me they loved me.
How can we get to a point where men feel comfortable just expressing all of it?
So regular conversation about how you're doing and regular conversation about how your day is going. Regular conversation makes a man feel like he can talk to you.
And still ahead, a North Texas woman is changing the narrative around health and wellness for Black men. The methods she's using to uplift this group while getting them on the mat to find healing from within. And we want to highlight local groups making a difference in the community. The North Texas branch of the Alliance on Mental Health is just one of them. You can use the information on your screen to speak with a professional. We've also put the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline number on your screen as well. We'll be right back. Well, studies show men over the age of 35 have a difficult time making friends, but when they are in community, it's one of the best forms of coping out there. Joel and Jay, who you heard from separately, well, they're sitting down together, addressing their unique friendship and how they connected later in life. And from it, they say they've gained a renewed sense of purpose, thanks to a little persistence.
Give him some Metamucil, man. Give him some Centrum Silver. We both getting our doctorates, so this is what we do all day. Grumpy Eddie here didn't want to respond back to my text message.
Oh, really?
Nah.
Tell me how the friendship started.
Oh my gosh. I would text him, he wouldn't text me back. And he would, leave me on red for days. We kind of know how guys are not as friendly, and guys are not as open, when it comes to meeting friends, especially after 40, and it can be very difficult for men. And even study shows that men have a difficult time making friends after 35.
We can say we were busy, but tell me what was going on.
And I could tell right out that he wanted friendship, okay? And I didn't know if I was prepared to give that. Because I'm a very transparent, very vulnerable person, and when I love hard. And I just did not want to get into that. I don't know, when I finally responded, what did I say? Do you remember?
Oh yeah, your famous emoji, the muscle flex.
That was it?
That was it, the muscle flex. It was one of those things that we as men, we're so closed off at times, because when men get hurt, it really changes our function in life.
Hold on, let me ask you this real quick. You're the oldest?
I'm the oldest.
Yeah, he's oldest.
No, I knew that. I'm just messing with you. I'm messing with you. I want you to talk about the importance for Black men to have community, and how do they navigate those situations as it relates to finding friends at an older age?
The community is so important for Black men because it provides a sense of belonging. And it's so important for brothers to have community, because the worst place a man can be left is left alone with his thoughts and feel that no one cares. Community provides hope.
Community provides hope. So a perfect person to have here joining me in the studio. Part of the conversation that we're having today, folks, means we got to provide some resources for you as we explore some of those ongoing concerns. And Sherry Doucette is here with me, and she is the owner of Lighthouse Wellness. Thank you so much. And the main framework for your business, for this organization, is making wellness easily accessible to Black men. What are some of the ways that you're doing that?
Well, what we're doing is we're shifting the focus away from Black men's resistance or reluctance to seek mental help, and leaning into the ways that they feel comfortable in sharing, right? And so our approach is really informal. So we use wellness practices like yoga and mindfulness, wellness retreats. We have the doc, which is every Sunday, and it is a virtual group therapy space for Black men to connect with Black male therapists, because what we know is that less than 4% of therapists are Black and male. So if we can get them into a group space, there are no waiting lists. Come as you are. There are no surveys, and it's free. So we've removed all of the barriers. In fact, you don't even have to drive.
Ooh. Because you said virtual.
It's virtual.
Just log on in.
Just log on in.
Okay, and you know what? The doc, you mentioned that one, and I know you have some other opportunities for folks to get involved. But I want to know, Sherry, what was your why? We've heard all these stories from Black men. What was your why in starting Lighthouse?
My why was that it hit really close to home. My husband was really impacted by not having a constructive outlet, right? And all of that pain was internalized, and it manifested as end-stage cancer, right? And so his life was taken at just 43 years old. And we have a son. And I'm all about breaking generational habits, if you will, curses. It ends there. And I want my son to be well-resourced. I want his friends, all the men that I love. And I think it's quite beautiful that my father, my brother, my son, and my nephew have participated in the doc.
Wow.
At the same time.
Wow.
So multi-generational healing And I recognize that as a Black woman, my healing, our healing as a community is inextricably linked to the healing of our Black men.
Very, very good. You mentioned the doc, and I know you have several other programs. What are some programs folks can take part in year-round as well?
Absolutely. So we have yoga every Thursday at Pan-African Connection, 7 p.m., where we center Black men. So brothers, come on out. We also have Be Still Bruh, which is a multi-sensory meditation experience at the Daisha Board Gallery Father's Day weekend. So that's June 17th from 1 to 3 p.m. You can register on our website, or you can go to Eventbrite, and that's going to be really amazing. So I'm going to lead a meditation accompanied by a live cellist, Jordan Jones, who is phenomenal.
Yes, 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 absolutely.
And now we're also in the schools, so the word is getting out, right? And though our mission initially began with men, we've branched out, and now we're in the schools. And so we're sharing social emotional literacy support in the form of yoga and mindfulness throughout Dallas County schools.
And we'll be sure to make sure we include all of that on our web store, WFAA.com/Black Mental Health. Thank you so much, Sherry, for joining us.
Thank you, Tashara.
We'll be right back. Well, that wraps up our Black Mental Health Special Enough. You know one thing about us, we will continue the conversation. We have so much more to talk about online, and we've been hard working behind the scenes to make sure we aren't just talking, but putting in action. Through a partnership with the Tegna Foundation, we were able to make a donation to local nonprofit Hear My Cry. You can find out more about the work she's doing and so many others by heading to our website, WFAA.com/Black Mental Health, where you can view this entire series. As always, thank you so much for joining us. Remember to take care of yourself and those around you.